Yeah, and the next topic, we are going to zero in a little bit more on some of the coordinator decisions that were going on yesterday, and we're going to start on the offensive side. We covered this a little bit last night in the post-game show, but just as a refresher, the Ravens in short yardage situations on offense were terrible. They were absolutely terrible. One time in the beginning, remember that first drive? It sure was nice. But then it went all downhill. Jonah Schaefer summed it up very well in these short yardage situations. On 3rd and 2, Todd Monken ran it. What do you know? As Cherokee just said, he ran it and they converted. But then he decided to abandon the run in short yardage situations. On 4th and 1, if you can remember, he had Lamar drop back to pass. It went incomplete. On 3rd and 1 again, Lamar dropped back to pass, was sacked, and fumbled. Then on 3rd and 3, pass again, and a sack again. Jonah Schaefer says the Ravens have Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson for the express purpose of getting easy yards. I said last night, I don't know, where is the game plan that they had against the Steelers last year, where they used the combination of Lamar and Derrick Henry to have TJ Watt spinning in a blender, not knowing where the ball was. He knows the Ravens as good as anybody, him and Mike Tomlin and the Steelers. And they were completely fooled by what the Ravens were doing. That's been completely abandoned. John Harbaugh was asked about these short yardage situations.
And I got it. Let me know when.
And Bobby's got it right here. John actually saying out loud that he wasn't happy with Todd Monken's play calling.
Play calling, I'm not going to sit here and say I'm happy about it at all. I'm sure that Todd's not happy about it either. None of us are, So you got to look at that and decide what you want to run there, in some of those circumstances and situations. But, if they work, they look good. They threw the ball on 4th and short and 3rd and short a few times and completed them. So maybe we just need better plays. We need plays that are going to pop open. Maybe we've got to do a better job of game planning those plays. That's what I would say. I think that we need to put our guys in better position and give them opportunities to make plays in those situations, because in a game like this, you got to be aggressive. You got to go for stuff. And we didn't get it done.
Camera dropping there at the end. But
what went right last night? The audio was cut out. You just saw the camera pan down to GEHA Field, our former sponsor. GEHA, it's nice to see you guys again. But yeah, it was just kind of a perfect, microcosm of the night, if you will. But, Sarah, I'll just jump in and give a thought on that quickly. Let's be clear here. Wow. As much as we can pose the question right now to our audience, do you think that John Harbaugh called out Todd Monken? I think we just got to go the next step. He called out Todd Monken's play calling last night. I think it's pretty clear. Quote, yeah, that's play calling. I'm not going to sit here and say I'm happy about it at all. I'm sure that Todd's not happy about it either. None of us are. Maybe we just need better plays. Maybe we got to do a better job of game planning those plays. In a game like this, you got to be aggressive. You got to go for stuff. And we didn't get it done. Sarah, they were 3 for 10 on 3rd down, 1 for 4 on 4th down. Do you even want to know what the Chiefs were on the other side?
Yes, I do. Tell me.
4 for 4 on 4th down, 5 for 15 doesn't wow you or pop off the page at you, but they had the ball for a lot of this game, so you can kind of see how that, levels off or whatever. They almost possessed the football, Sarah, for 10 full more minutes than the Ravens did. Yet again, the Ravens are beat at their own game, something that we've grown accustomed to seeing throughout the Lamar era. Not them getting beat at their own game, but them controlling the pace and overall structure of the game. Now, twice in under a week, they've had it handed to them in a category that they typically hand to other teams. So, highly concerning. Didn't love the way that John chose to handle this question. Clearly, emotions, I'm sure, were running. They were not good enough, as you see here on the screen, in short yardage situations early on 3rd and 4th down. And I think the elephant in the room, much like it was through the first part of last year, maybe the first third, let's call it, what is up with the misusage of Derrick Henry? Do they know how to truly utilize Derrick Henry? It's funny to say that off the first year with him, where he goes for over 1,900 yards and flirts with 2,000, flirts with a rushing title. had Saquon Barkley not been in historic fashion, he probably would have had that rushing title. So I don't necessarily mean do they know how to utilize him. It's more about, do they know how to use him to their advantage in certain situational types of 3rd and 4th downs on short yardage situations? And yesterday, I think the answer to that question is a big fat no.
What's interesting about this response from John Harbaugh is that he's right. He's saying things that we're saying on this show. He's saying things that fans are saying, is that I actually agree that they went for it on 4th down several times. He was rightly criticized for not going for it last week. In fact, I think he could have gone for it one more time when they went for a field goal. So like it almost got to the point where like not only were the players giving up, it looked to us, but it also looked like John Harbaugh did when he went for a field goal to cut the lead to 14 when they still needed points. Like he could have gone for it more often. He also didn't go for 2 points after a touchdown late. And again, maybe he was like, well, we've been injured, I'm just getting out of here. But again, that was like throwing in the towel for sure. So when he talks about, hey, I felt like we needed to go for it on 4th down, I agree. It's not like people are being like, what is Harbaugh doing? He shouldn't have gone for it. We agree that they should have gone for it. So he defended himself in that. And then he's also saying the play calls needed to be better. And that's true. The only problem is that this is his offensive coordinator, and this isn't the first time it's happened. So why hasn't this been fixed? Why is it that you guys signed, Eric DeCosta signed Derrick Henry coming out of the AFC Championship game, loss against the Kansas City Chiefs, where they forgot to run the ball. And so they go out and they get Derrick Henry, and everybody in the media is saying, okay, well, that's why they go get Derrick Henry, because when you have Derrick Henry, you are not allowed to forget about the run game. Like it won't happen when you have the king on your roster. He'll force you to not forget about the run game. He'll force you to not abandon the run game. In fact, maybe Derrick Henry might have you running too much and you're not passing the ball enough. That was one of the reasons that everybody was like, sweet, Derrick Henry won't let Todd Monken and John Harbaugh ever abandon the run again, especially against the Kansas City Chiefs. So it's bananas that here we are, September 29th, against the Kansas City Chiefs again, and being like, what happened to the run game? And so while what John Harbaugh is saying is right, because Todd Monken does deserve criticism for those play calls, but like, why again did John Harbaugh allow it? Why did he have to just say out in public? Why did he have to get to the point where he called out his offensive coordinator in public? That should have been handled already. What do you have here up on the screen?
Well, just the transcription, part of what I tweeted out,
okay.
You know, what we're talking about right now. And to your point, you're right. It's true. It didn't need to be said by John Harbaugh.
Well,
that's not a level of accountability.
Asked, you guys passed the ball instead of running it. Well, you're right. Well, how they set it up. Here's the transcripts from the Ravens. You mentioned that this is from Jonas Schaefer. You mentioned that the game started to get out of hand. I think on 3 of the 4 early short yard, 3rd and 4th downs, you guys passed the ball instead of running it. Yes, I mean, that's play calling.
You know, again, to your point, we're not disagreeing. I think I'll speak for myself. I'm disagreeing with the way that he brought Todd Monken into play. I would have liked a little bit more accountability from
John himself. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Whereas he says, hey, and it starts with me. Hey, and it starts with me. I feel good about going for it. We didn't have the play calls. I wish he just said it starts with me. We got to get better plays, and that starts with me. But he didn't say that.
Let's be clear. This was throwing a coordinator under the bus. I'll speak for myself on this one. That's the way I interpreted this, and I didn't appreciate that from Todd Monken's perspective here. So, you know, if I'm Todd, we're not going to hear from him until later on in the week.
Thursday,
and he's cool as a cucumber. They're going to be full on in Houston mode. I'm sure they already are trying to flush what just happened yesterday and get themselves healthy and all that stuff. And Todd's too classy to ever kind of, you know, have any sort of Thursday press conference related to a response. But I thought that this was, I won't say low blow because I think that's hyperbolic, but I will say I thought John missed the mark with this.
Well, I'm glad that he told the truth. but I agree with you that he should have said, and it starts with me. Right?
Could have happened at any point in here.
Say all of what he can say everything he just said, but add in there, and it starts with me.
Yeah.
That's all you had to add, because he's telling the truth. And how do we know that it's the truth? Like we went over this last night. How is it that on 4th and 2, Todd Monken calls a passing play where he has an empty backfield with Lamar Jackson? It's an empty backfield. Nobody's out there. And you know for a fact that Steve Spagnuolo on 4th and 2 is going to send the house. There was no plan for a blitz. None. Not even Justice Hill, who has become Todd Monken's #1 blitz picker-upper, including against Chris Jones, right? Like we remember those days in Kansas City last year, week 1, where Justice Hill was playing this cat and mouse game with Chris Jones, and Lamar was going back and forth in the pocket to help out. Like not even Justice was back there. He had so many weapons lined out. And then all of them, and I think except for one, and I need to see the all-22 film on it, but from the broadcast copy, it looked like all but one of those routes were deep developing routes on 4th and 2.
Yeah.
You need a quick passing route, and you need somebody there to pick up the blitz. You took Derrick Henry off the field, so he wasn't even a threat. He wasn't even a threat. How many times was Derrick Hill taken off the field? And we'll get to that in just a second. But once again, after halftime, when Tony Romo at halftime, they asked him, what did the Ravens need to do to get back in this game? He said, make it simple. Hand it off to Derrick Henry. And they start to do it on the first drive coming out of halftime. They start to do it, and they're moving the ball. And Kansas City is on their heels because you set it up with a nice Derrick Henry run. And then you set it up more with the Derrick Henry play action pass. You're moving. You get to 3rd and 1. And Tony Romo's like, oh, this is great. You're going to have in there 3rd and 1. You've got the king. You're going to leave him out there, right? He's like, right? Like, right? Please, John Harbaugh, right? Like practically begging. And then suddenly the camera pans out and there's Justice Hill back there, and the king has been taken off on 3 and 1. And then what do you do? You drop back and pass again. And by the way, Derrick Henry was moving the ball on that drive. There was no reason to take him off. You take him off. Lamar drops back, sack. And now you have to settle for a field goal. Yeah, what are we doing in these short yardage situations? Derrick Henry Derrick Henry, he keeps showing up in these post-game locker rooms. He's been embarrassed. He's been embarrassed this season with his fumbles, but he's determined. He's accountable. He comes back. He's looking good. He's averaging over 5 yards per carry last night. By the way, he's averaging 5.8 yards per carry this season, and yet he's 20th in attempts in the entire NFL. He says he's the only one with a little bit of fight, even though he says it very under his breath. Derrick Henry on the challenge for the Ravens, falling to 1 and 3 and dealing with several injuries. He says, bring it on. I look at it with a positive mindset. Ain't nobody going to come out and do it for us. We got to go back to work. Bring it on, he says. Thank you, King Henry. Despite not being used properly, he is number 3 among running backs with 15 or more attempts, Bobby, with 5.8 yards per carry, yet he is the 20th. Look at him all the way down at the bottom of that list. All the way at the bottom of that list, number 20 in passing, in rushing attempts among running backs, despite having the 3rd best rushing average per carry. And I don't know what Todd Monken's doing. I'm glad that John Harbaugh is at least aware of it, so maybe they can talk. But again, I'm with you. He should have said, and it starts with me, because it does start with him. It does.
Our guy Dev, friend of the show, good Ravens Twitter follow too, kind of sums it up here, right? Derrick Henry has 21 carries for 94 yards against the Chiefs in 2 games. That was week 1 of last year, of course, and then just yesterday. He averaged over 5 yards per carry and had 4 carries in the first half. Again, that was yesterday in Kansas City. The Ravens signed him, quote, for Kansas City, right? There was a belief that they've built this team to try and beat who they haven't really been able to beat at all throughout the Lamar era. Not many have, aside from Cincinnati, in the Kansas City Chiefs and the Eagles. Dev said, I'd respect them more if they tried and leaned into who they were. Instead, they get played by Kansas City every time. And Sarah, I think that's where we're at right now. The Ravens go into these games against the Chiefs, and I mean, how early on in that game yesterday did they wave the proverbial white flag?
Yeah, it felt like there were
Very
several times
early.
that was going down. Here's what's interesting to me is, so if you go back to this stat right here that we put up, where I'm saying that Derrick Henry is 20th in attempts. Like, one could argue it's like, well, they're playing from behind, so it's hard to get Derrick Henry out there. And it's like, if that was why he wasn't getting enough attempts, I could agree with you. But as Dev points out, he had 4 carries in the first half. You
Wow.
went up. You went up 7-0 on that first drive. And after that, you abandoned it.
Yeah.
4 carries in the first half. The game was not out of reach. This isn't because the Ravens are way behind and then they just can't use them anymore. Like, it has been happening enough where they keep, and we've even talked about it, they prefer Justice Hill back there in pass protection on third and long. They prefer that. I haven't seen Derrick Henry being terrible in pass protection from not to ever really get a chance. I mean, he's rarely out there for those third downs. I think he can bail Lamar Jackson out. Lamar's been able, like, Justice Hill is great when you pass it down and check down to him, and he's almost an automatic first down. I love that about him. He's there for pass protection, and he's able to leak out. Lamar throws it to him, checks down. A lot of times he'll convert that to a first down. That's all fine, but now you're predictable. Todd Monken is telling the team when Justice Hill is in, he's in there for pass protection and the check down. When Derrick Henry's in, that's when we're going to run. And so now you've become too predictable. You're not switching it up enough at all. And so you can't use the excuse that the Ravens are behind so they can't run. That's not it. Not when you're running him 4 times in the first half when he started out as well as he did on that first drive.